And today is April 30th, 2013. Thanks for joining us tonight. You're listening to episode 3 of Cop Block Radio. Cop Block Radio is a show dedicated to police accountability in the police state and is brought to you by copblock.org. If you'd like to submit a story or would like to talk about something on the show, please be sure to send us an email to CopBlockRadioShow@gmail.com. Also, if you have any questions you'd like us to address on the show, you can send that to the same place. My name's Eric. You can find me over at freerockpress.com and Ohio Cop Block. And with me tonight, I have Adam from Spokane Cop Block, and you can find them on Facebook.
That's right. Thanks, Eric. And tonight with me, I actually have Brandon, who is going to be joining us a little bit tonight. He's actually helps me out with Spokane Cop Block here in Spokane. He's
Cool.
Just going to kind of join in whenever he feels the need to.
So tonight we have our regular show, but then also hopefully around 10 o'clock we will have on Jacob from Ohio Cop Block, and if not, at least at 10:30 we have an interview with somebody from Seattle Cop Block to talk about the May Day protests going on out there, since it's been a year since the whole shenanigans from last time. So
Yeah, he's going to fill us in on what their plans are for tomorrow, being May 1st. They're going to be out tomorrow filming. They're going to touch base with us, what's going on, what their goals are for tomorrow, and then hopefully maybe we can touch back with them again next week and see how things went.
cool. So yeah, everybody, if you want to stick around, we'll probably have we'll shut this one down and start a separate video for the interview. So if you don't want to listen to the interviews, then you don't have to. Or you can watch them separately on your own if you don't want to watch the show and you want to watch the interviews.
That's right.
So after last week's show, we realized that we didn't follow up on the Rich Paul story. This is the guy out of Keene, New Hampshire, who was on trial for a few felony drug charges for selling marijuana, and he actually had a plea deal offered to him for 0 jail time if he pled guilty, and he turned that down and was facing up to 81 years for that offense. And unfortunately, he pursued a jury nullification strategy, and unfortunately, the jury ended up convicting him on the 4 marijuana charges, and then he also had a 5th for selling LSD, even though the state chemist admitted that it wasn't LSD, but he still got found guilty of selling LSD, even though it wasn't LSD. So yeah, that's not cool.
No.
So
Sorry to laugh, but it's funny to that extent. Yeah, they found that it wasn't LSD, but still charged him with it.
So as the court let out, there were a few people outside with the Free Keene group, and they were trying to get an interview from a juror, and was offering you $20 for 5 minutes, and they couldn't get a single juror to talk about it. Yeah.
I'd take $20 for 5 minutes of my time. I don't know about you.
Right. And you figure if these people were proud of what they did, they would have no problem talking about about what went on in the deliberations, but no one would accept an interview. So as they were leaving, there were a few people that were following, asking questions, and one guy said over his shoulder as he was walking away, "Well, we didn't want to break the law."
I saw that video. I did. It was sad. It was sad.
Right. And now the people from the Fully Informed Jury Association, they were nice enough to write a article, and they are hoping that somehow they can get a new trial, especially because in New Hampshire there was a law passed that took effect this January 1st where the judge should be able to give jury nullification instructions, but this judge, John Kissinger, um, when he read the instructions, he emphasized that the jury was to follow the law as he gave it, which right there, he's basically threatening the jury that if they don't follow what he says, then there will be ramifications.
Yeah, he's saying
And
that he is the law when technically the jury actually becomes the law in that situation.
right, and something that was said in that write up was, I think, right on. He said few jurors understand that their role is to protect fellow citizens from government tyranny, and I think that statement is extremely telling to the current situation we have, that people don't understand that that is their job as a juror, is to protect fellow citizens. It's not to do as the state's bidding, which it seems like these particular jurors were coerced into doing.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people forget is the fact that it's a juror of your peers to decide whether or not you've been found guilty, not a juror of peers to decide whether or not the state says you're guilty or not.
Right, and yeah, it was really sad that it came out this way, especially with the judge being so not impartial. He was very blatantly, you know, at working as a state agent and not as an impartial arbiter.
Yeah. Sad day. Sad day.
Yep. So, unfortunately, he was found guilty, and he is currently awaiting sentencing. So, we don't know what he will get for his non-crime of selling a plant. So, we will hopefully it won't be too bad, and hopefully they'll be able to somehow get an appeal that and get a new trial, because the first one was obviously not a fair one. So.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have some news about Child Protective Services being a little too overzealous.
Oh yes. All the time. Seems to be a very common problem in this country. But yeah, we have a story out of Sacramento, California. Russian couple that had their 5-month-old baby taken from them by CPS after going to the hospital with flu-like symptoms. So they took the child to the hospital because they were concerned for the child's health. The nurse, from what I understand, the nurse decided to give the baby antibiotics without being told by the doctor to do so. So the parents became upset, as most parents would. I hope so. And decided to take the baby from the hospital and go for a second opinion to another hospital, which I actually have experience in myself. I did that with one of my children when they were young. We took them out of one hospital and moved them to a different one because we weren't happy with what was going on, which I think is full parental rights right there. I mean, this is your child. You have full deciding factors on what happens to your child. Well, the doctor from the first hospital decided he didn't like that and got CPS involved, and the state decided that the couple was unfit to take care of their child. The sad part about it is the police showed up at their house. I believe it was the next day after they'd taken the baby to the hospital, to the new hospital, and the doctors there said the baby was fine. They could take it home. There was no concern for the well-being of the child. took the baby home. The police show up, tackle. From what I understand, it sounds like they didn't word it exactly like that. It sounds like they tackled the father in the driveway outside of their home. Bragged about the fact that they thought he had the keys to the house on him. The wife and mother of the child set up a video camera in the doorway of the house to record what was going on. The police then entered the house without a warrant, yelling at the mother to hand over the child, followed by CPS coming in the house, again, without a warrant, and taking the baby away from them. Luckily, the awesome part of this news story now is the fact that they had a court hearing with the judge, and the judge decided that there was no concern for the child, and the child has been given back to the parents now, which is awesome. It's a great thing to have happen, and we recognize that what they did was right and okay to do, and that the parents actually have the decision to make those choices without the state being involved.
Yeah, this is one of those cases, I think, it's just insane that this isn't even one of those cases where they refuse treatment at all. All they were doing was seeking a second opinion. It's not like they just took her home or to not get any treatment at all. They took her to another hospital to seek a second opinion to see if they could find anything else and treat it a little less aggressively, as it sounded like from the first hospital, making mistakes and trying to being way too overzealous on what the problem actually was.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's awesome. And if anything, that shows that they were better parents. The fact that they would force second opinion instead of just, okay, that's what the doctor said, and that's what I'm going to do. They're like, well, let's go find out what this guy says instead, and we'll make our decision from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's in those other cases where they refuse to give any treatment to the child, or they're blatantly sick. I'm kind of on the fence on what role society has in that particular instance. I mean, it's kind of pointless to let somebody die for no reason. It's simply treated stuff. But in this case, they weren't doing that. They were just going for a second opinion and still seeking medical attention. So it kind of makes no sense that Child Protective Services would get involved anyways. It sounded like it was just a retaliatory thing from the first hospital.
That's what it almost seemed like. It almost seemed like the doctor was offended that, how dare you take that child from me and take it to a different doctor. I'll show you. Yeah, it's just sad. I've seen this too many times, especially too many times recently, where CPS comes in and takes children from people with what is obviously not cause for concern for them to need to take the child from that situation.
Right. So you want to talk about the Idaho family?
Yeah, I'm actually pulling that up right now.
Cool.
In this link, there's another story that came out of Idaho, where a family had their children taken from them. Right here. I'd keep going, but I want to make sure I have the facts right and read off the story here.
So yeah, like with this family, with like the marijuana thing, there was a story that we had pulled up, but it was from last year. A Michigan father was shot and killed when Child Protective Services was taking his child away under the only thing that was alleged was that they smelled marijuana. Yeah. Like, he had no drugs or alcohol in his system when he was shot. He was just trying to protect his kid, and he was seeking full custody of his kid, and he was supposed to be in court in like 3 days, and he was excited about getting full custody of his kid, and the mere allegation of marijuana use sent Child Protective Services to take the child away when there was absolutely no harm being done to the child at all, and he might not even have been using marijuana ever, so who knows? It's just one of those things where Child Protective Services gets way overzealous, even when there's no harm being done to the child.
Yes. Yes. All right, so I got the article up here. So there's 4 young boys, ages 11, 10, 6, and 5, were taken by the state of Idaho Child Protective Services from their families. There we have the 3 prominent, and this is a pretty cool thing for Idaho. Idaho's still working on trying to get legislation through for marijuana initiatives, like Washington State, Colorado, California, and many others that have followed suit. Idaho, in my opinion, is going to take a lot longer to get on that same board with passing initiatives like that. But basically, you have the 3 main activists that are fighting for this legislation that are helping assist to try to get these children back to the families that they belong to. So basically, they have a link, and we'll put this in here about helping out in their cause for trying to get funding to help out for the legal defense to get these children back to their parents. And from what I understand, when Child Protective Services took these children, they were being babysat by the babysitter. And so the babysitter was coerced into opening the house at the door without a warrant, from what I understand, and taking these children away when the parents weren't even there, which is even sadder in my opinion, that you're just going to show up and take these children when the parents aren't even there at all and they're being babysat. That in my eyes is a scary thing. I don't blame the babysitter for understanding the babysitter probably was a younger girl, probably doesn't have the knowledge to stand up to the police in a situation like that because they're very good at swindling and conning people into doing things when it's illegal. But yeah, we'll put the links up for the story and the donation links to help them out if you guys are interested in helping them out or finding more about this story. Other than that, I'm not seeing a lot in here about more of the details on what exactly happened to make CPS take these children away.
All right. So yeah, we can include that link and people can check that out. So it seems like the Christopher Dorner story just never is going to die, apparently.
No.
So right now, a lot of his accusations around a lot of the LAPD being racist and all that. Right now, there are 2 deputies who are suing Los Angeles County Sheriff Baca, the undersheriff Paul Tanaka, and Lieutenant Greg Thompson, and somebody named Detective Perkins. It doesn't seem to say who exactly he is. And they're suing over their involvement in a cover-up involving a skinhead deputy. You might want to mute there, buddy.
Yeah, sorry. I coughing, trying to be quiet.
So apparently
skinhead deputy, huh?
Yeah, so apparently the sheriff Baca blew off threats to his deputies and was indifferent to the corruption. A couple of the things that the deputies are saying that they were branded as quote-unquote race traitors and snitches. And so that's why they're suing these particular individuals and the County of Los Angeles for the hostile work environment.
So, make sure I got this right. So the other deputies are suing because of these skinhead.
Yeah. So
okay.
So it's a cover up because the sheriff dismissed threats,
Mhm.
and let's see, it says he blew off threats to his deputies and was indifferent to the corruption. So
Oh,
it sounds like he was covering up that there were blatant racists working on the LAPD, and he did nothing to take any actions. And it sounds like uh, there might have been some threats to some other officers solely based on race.
and so the sheriff has been covering up those threats
Right.
and not doing anything about them.
Yeah, it's a really long story out of Courthouse News. I would encourage anybody to read it. It's extremely lengthy. So there seemed to be a whole bunch of covering up of using prison inmates to get to officers, and yeah,
Wow.
it's a mess. It's
So we're talking way more than Dorner's manifesto. Because he had a
right,
lot in that manifesto. I read that. There was a big old lot of stuff in that.
right, and the this article starts up right off. It says white racist gangs operate at the highest levels of Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Wow.
That's the first sentence of the story. So that should pretty much send you down
Yeah.
where they're going to be going with this thing. But yeah, it's slightly confusing article just because it's so massive. So
Yeah.
I can't get too heavily into detail on this particular one. But in other Christopher Dorner news, the two women who were in the blue pickup truck, not the silver pickup truck,
Yeah.
and there are two women don't look anything like Christopher Dorner,
No.
uh,
Not at all.
who,
weren't they
who were
weren't they
shot.
weren't they Asian, if I remember correctly? Or Oriental of some
Uh,
kind? I thought that had been released in that movie.
yeah, it was a different minority. They were not African American, at
Yeah.
least,
Yeah.
and they were not male. So
Yeah, female, and they were delivering newspapers, weren't they? They were the newspaper delivery people. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So they have now reached a settlement with the city of Los Angeles for $4.2 million. So each of them will be getting $2.1 million each for getting shot. Let's see.
Now, I'm curious that when you get paid by the state like that from a lawsuit, do you have to pay taxes on that?
I don't know.
Even though it's technically taxed money being paid to you?
That's a good question. I don't know if settlements from government entities are taxable as income or not.
We're gonna have to look that up
That'd be
and
a good
find that
question.
out because that makes me wonder.
But I'm glad that um, these two didn't take the original offer, because the original offer was just a slap in the face, pitiful.
It was,
Um,
wasn't it like here we might give you a new truck and that's about it?
yeah, it was like we might give you a new truck and we might give you like $20,000. I think it was like $38,000 total or something.
I mean, they were shot. Did you
So
see the back of that truck? I mean, they unloaded on them. I'm surprised
I
they
know.
lived through it. Really,
I forget how many times they said they shot though. It was like 30 something.
There's pictures of the back of that truck. It was riddled with holes. It was amazing. I was like, how does one survive through that without getting hit? And I mean, these are police officers shooting too. So they should have good aim. Obviously not.
Yeah, I know half of them are like in the license plate area. They're just like right above the license plate, not doing very
Trying
good.
to blow the truck
And
up. I'm gonna shoot the gas.
why are there so many shots going into the passenger side window?
Well, yeah, that too. Like, if you think it's him driving,
Yeah, so
him, not the passenger.
it's it's so messed up that these ladies even got shot in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
But right there, the original offer was so ridiculously low. I'm glad they didn't settle for that, and then unfortunately the taxpayers have to foot the bill, and they're going to continue to get extorted with their tax money and pay
Mhm.
for the misdeeds of their alleged public servants.
Yes.
So that's kind of horrible, and hopefully it's kind of a you got to make things worse to make things better type of deal. If police departments and cities start having to pay out these massive lawsuits over and over and over again, eventually people will wake up to the fact that these people do not have your best interests in mind and are more than willing to just spend your money and not take any personal accountability for what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't sound like any of the police officers are going to be charged with anything. So
So basically, they just got told, here, yeah, go ahead, run around, shoot at people randomly. No, it's all right, we'll just pay them off.
Right. So, I mean, with things like this, there are no consequences for the people who do wrong because it's the taxpayer who foots the bill regardless. So that's kind of the unfortunate message that needs to be taken out of this, and more people need to realize that they just want your money, and they'll spend your money however they feel they want to do that. So, yeah.
You got anything to say? We haven't heard of you yet.
I don't know much about these stories so far that you guys are talking
about. I figured to ask you, maybe you want to know a part of this or something?
I'll join in as soon as I know what I'm talking about.
So you want to talk about the Louisiana man who was arrested for recording, and also what DHS has put out about the Boston bombing?
Yep. So we got the article coming out of Louisiana. This is an interesting article. I've watched these videos too. You got they say it's Alex League. I don't want to say that wrong, but his name's Alex. Carlos Miller did this article. But basically, Alex is very prone to going out and filming police, which is awesome. He goes out with his cell phone. In the couple of videos, he has gone out and he is completely, in my opinion, far enough away from the scene where there shouldn't be an issue with him filming at all. But obviously, the officers in this town where he's filming don't like it at all, because they specifically approach him from such a far distance multiple times to harass him about filming and threaten to arrest him multiple times. It's almost ridiculous. They're wasting their own time by harassing him for filming. And the interesting part about this article is he's been arrested twice.
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks for doing the same. Let off both times with no charges, because what he's doing is completely illegal, and he gets his phone back, which is amazing. He gets his phone back every time, which is pretty impressive. Because most stories you see when you get arrested for filming, they take it and you don't get your phone back for a while, and that's even if you get the video evidence back. But he's been getting all of his property returned to him, being let off, and going out and doing it again and getting arrested for it again.
Yeah. The first one that he had the run-in with the cop, he even walked across the street and was filming there, and then the cop followed him over there. This wasn't just like a little street. It was at least 2 lanes in each direction.
It's a 4-lane, yeah.
Yeah, it was a 4-lane, and they still came across it. But what was kind of interesting in that first video was the man who came up to him, and
the older gentleman.
The older gentleman, yes. He came up to him and was like, "You can't take my video, you can't take my photo, blah blah blah, without my permission." And he goes on to explain, "You're out in public, so you have no expectation of privacy." And then of course that man, the funniest thing is he calls over the police officer and says, "Hey, are you gonna do anything to me if I punch this guy out?" Or, "Hey, are you gonna watch me punch this guy out?" Something like that. It was pretty funny. He threatened
old grumpy gentleman.
Yes.
So, and the funnier thing is, I mean, he explains to him that he has no right to privacy, and he kind of mentions the fact that the security cameras. And I'm like, how many of those buildings that they're standing in from that little strip mall? How many of those buildings have a camera pointed out to that parking lot,
right?
And are recording exactly what's going on right at the same time too?
And one of the times that one of the videos that he has up, it actually starts with him in a store asking permission to park his car where he has his car so he can go film this particular traffic stop of some sort. So he's already asking permission. He's doing the right thing by respecting the property rights of those who he's putting his car, he's leaving his car and he's like, "Hey, can I just park my car here so I can film this?" They're like, "Yeah, sure. That's fine." And
The cop
So
even
he
brings
has
that up when he's talking to him. Says,
right,
"Can you even park here? You need to move your car." He's like, "I have permission from the owner to park here."
right.
Yeah.
So he's going all about that the right way, and people should really check out his videos. That he is calm and collected, and definitely other cop blockers or cop watchers can definitely learn from his particular tactics on what you
There
should
are
be doing.
there are a few moments in the video where you can tell he gets upset and expresses himself in such a way that he is upset, and I don't blame him for it at all. You can tell he's angry because he's being harassed. For what he's doing is completely legal for him to record, and they're harassing him, and he cusses, says a couple foul words. But I don't blame him. I mean, it's free speech. He can say what he wants and express himself in that manner if he feels necessary to.
Right. So also, Carlos Miller put out the briefing from the FBI and DHS.
Yes, I'm pulling that up right now. I had the PDF file. Let's see if I can grab that. But the Department of Homeland Security put out a whole briefing on since the Boston Marathon, and basically putting out that if you see people with cameras or video cameras taking pictures of places, that odds are that it's going to lead to terrorism, which, in my opinion, is just a complete joke. It's ridiculous that they would even say something like that. It sounds like I mean, I understand they got their whole thing with terrorism, and they have to make it sound so dangerous and everything. But the fact of saying that someone with a video camera or a camera out in public using it is a sign of a possible terrorism I have a problem with that. A serious problem.
Yeah, if you bring that up, the list of stuff is pretty funny.
Yeah, no.
And I kind of want to go to Boston and do half the things on the list, just because some of the stuff is so ridiculous.
It is. I'm trying to grab the PDF right now.
Yeah, my computer's dying on me here.
Yeah. They got the one article that Carlos Miller does, but it doesn't look like he has a link to the actual PDF itself. He's just got parts.
Oh, really?
Parts and pieces.
I thought he did.
I have it here on my Facebook. I'm trying to grab it real quick.
But yeah, so a lot of the stuff that shows up on these FBI lists and whatnot are always
They're always funny.
yeah, and half the time they're contradictory and whatnot. I know Adam Kokesh had done a man on the street interview, and he was talking about the list of things that the FBI deems a potential terrorist, and one of them was not having a Facebook account.
Yeah,
but then farther down the list, it said having a Facebook account. So you're a terrorist either way if you use or do not use
basically.
Facebook.
One way or another, we're gonna make you look like a terrorist.
So
all right, here, let's see. Just like I got the PDF here open here. I'm gonna grab that spot real quick here. And I'll put a link to the PDF in the video too, so you guys can check this out and read it. It's pretty funny. All right, so these are possible indicators of pre-operational surveillance or attack planning. Include unusual or prolonged interest in or attempts to gain sensitive information about security measures of personnel, entry points, peak days and hours of operation, and access controls such as alarms or locks. Observation of security reaction drills or procedures, multiple false alarms or fictitious emergency calls to the same location or similar venues, discrete use of camera or video recorders, sketching or note-taking consistent with Pre-operational surveillance. Yeah.
Now I kind of want to go do that. I just want to stand outside like the Prudential building and just with a camera in one hand and a
like
sketch
under your armpit and then draw.
and then drawing and taking notes and stuff. I think that would be hilarious. This one is really funny.
And then and on the next page, it's interest in speaking with building maintenance personnel. So if the freaking janitor's outside smoking a cigarette and you're having a conversation with him,
you might be a terrorist.
Yeah, you might be a terrorist. Yeah.
After every one of these lines, we could pretty much add, "You might be a terrorist."
Yeah, suspicious purchases of items that can be used to construct explosive devices include hydrogen peroxide. So if you want to clean your wounds, you could be a terrorist. Gasoline, propane, fertilizer. You want to fertilize your garden? Nope, terrorism.
Yeah, an acetone. So you want to remove nail polish remover from the night that you couldn't remember about last night. You might be a terrorist. Yeah,
that's right. Attempted or unauthorized access to rooftops, potentially sensitive areas. So if you want to get a good view from the top of the building, nope, terrorism.
Man, that could be a problem because I like to go take photographs and whatnot, and I found some of the best places that you can easily get to the top of are parking garages.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's one right at the airport, which that could be interesting if I actually went on top of the one at the airport. I've been thinking about it to get some time lapse, but yeah, right there. It's
you got your camera up there, man. You're a terrorist. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no kidding.
Doing that. Yeah, I would be concerned. And then if you remove objects from the facility or event which could conceal IEDs, e.g., trash containers, crates. So if you say you were, I see this all the time, it's sad to say you were a homeless person and hanging out downtown and you're pulling stuff out of the trash can, could be a terrorist.
I like
funny.
Yeah, I like something about the vehicles.
Vehicles, yeah.
What's VB stand for? Vehicle something IED?
The VBIED indicators.
Yeah.
Vehicles sagging.
Yeah, so too much stuff in the trunk.
Yes. So if your air ride suspension went out and the rear end of your car sags, you could be a terrorist. If you have a really nice car and you park it in a spot where you're not supposed to, so the other people don't bash the doors against your car, could be a terrorist.
Yeah. Don't accidentally illegally park your beat up van.
Yeah.
They might do a controlled demolition of it.
Yes. And then they'll blame it on you.
Yeah. Well, didn't that happen to somebody a few weeks ago that they charged him a bomb squad fee because they had to take the bomb squad out, but
yeah, they brought the bomb squad out, blew something up, and then they charged him for it. He's like,
yeah, even though he had nothing in his car, and they were just the ones that freaked out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Go figure.
Getting a little overzealous again.
Yeah. So, I think the first week, about 2 weeks ago, when we did the show, we talked about a crash that happened out here in Ohio involving a state trooper. I had been in contact with some of the people who were involved with that, and there's been an update, and actually the news station out of Dayton, I believe these people are out of. I think they're out of Dayton. Yeah, they're out of Dayton. They have managed to get the dash cam footage from the state trooper.
No way.
Yeah, but they still can't get any answers from the actual troop. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who my phone calls have been being blown off on. So, because I've been trying to get a comment and they didn't get a whole lot. But yeah, they got the dash cam footage, and when we originally talked about it, we had mentioned that from preliminary reports that the officer did not have his emergency lights on while he was speeding to try to catch up to somebody, which is a violation of Ohio law.
Yeah.
It is specifically enumerated that in order to be exempt from specifically speeding, and a laundry list of other traffic laws that they need to have their emergency lights on. And this particular officer did not have that. So when the driver of the original vehicle judged on how much room he had to make the turn across the highway, he had plenty of room, but didn't realize that the oncoming traffic was traveling much higher rate than the regular speed limit. So the dash cam footage pretty much shows that. What?
I like the fact that in the video down in the comments, I don't know if anybody else read those. I believe it was the gentleman that was involved in the car crash actually commented and told us a little bit more about his condition and how he was doing.
Yeah,
he wasn't actually in the hospital for a week. He was only in for a few days, which was awesome to hear.
Yeah, so actually, I think we've heard from the passenger, the driver, and one of their fiancés. So it's great to be able to get this information out.
Somebody's
significant other.
Yep.
So yeah, the Channel 2 News has followed up on that, but still they're not getting a whole lot of answers. They even asked the troop and what their policy was, and it said the use of emergency warning equipment is not required while overtaking or intercepting a violator unless existing traffic, road, or weather conditions render it reasonable and pertinent to use such equipment. So that was the policy statement that the troopers made, but that's not what the law says, and I'm kind of disappointed that the Channel 2 News didn't specify, hey, this is what the law says.
Yeah.
So you seem to have a different view of what the law says, so your policy does not conform to the law. So
basically their policy actually violates the law.
Right. So I will try again this week to try to get some sort of comment from them, but they won't even talk to the Channel 2 News apparently. So I'm not the only one.
You, yeah.
Exactly. So there's only something I can do. But yeah. So that's kind of the update with that. The passenger had his jaw wired shut for the past couple weeks. He had the wire taken out. He told me a couple days ago. So.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yep. So everybody's recovering, but we'll I'm sure there's going to be more about this as time goes on, and I'm pretty interested to find out what happens with this.
Yeah, I am too. Well, we're actually doing pretty darn good on time tonight. I'm impressed. Actually, I thought we would talk up more time with the stories we had. Because there was a lot, and we actually had to cut down on some of the stories that we wanted to talk about tonight because we were afraid we had too many.
So maybe we'll jump to one of the other things we had since we have short on time, or since we have time. This is an article I posted. It's not totally police related, but it is crime related. There was, in Michigan, there was a school principal who refused to report a rape because the perpetrator was a star athlete. And he didn't want to jeopardize the chances of him getting recruited onto a college team.
Yeah, see, that's sad. That's people. Yeah, I understand looking out for the kid's future, but if he does something, I mean, that's pretty hard thing to do there. And I don't know. I fully disagree with rape and the fact of forcing one upon another person.
Yeah. So I guess it's apparently this happened actually in school, in one of the band rooms. I'm trying to find out what specifically happened.
Worse.
But yes, I think it was at least some inappropriate touching. The article, I love how the author of this article did this, because she took, some of it, and every place she originally wrote athlete, and she crossed it out, so there's a hash through it, and then it says rapist.
Oh no.
So every spot in the article where everybody else had whitewashed it to athlete, she changed it to rapist. So.
Oh no. Yeah, I don't. Something like that shouldn't be just ignored because they're a star athlete. That again comes to that abuse of power area there, and the fact of police not doing things like that.
Yeah, and I mean this is not only are we gonna hold police accountable for their actions, but we should be holding all public employees accountable for their actions because they're on our dime, and this is just one instance that you don't even have to be that high up in the I don't know what you want to call it, the structure, the pecking order of public servants, but you can still be plenty malicious in your actions. So I just thought this was...
the principal should be held accountable for his actions in failing. I mean, that's basically neglect on other students because he failed to report that, and some other student was raped.
Yeah,
he neglected to report that, which is horrible, and it shows such bad. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. Basically, showing all the other students at that school that type of behavior is acceptable, and that you can do that type of thing, which is completely wrong.
Yeah, I just... this is just one of those so unexcusable actions that we read about way too often, and it's unfortunate that this kind of thing happened. But whoever managed to bring this to light, kudos to them. Right. It sounds like the family was not going to take that position of the principal and take him to task. So
yeah, good for them for standing up against him.
So back in Ohio, we have another story of a man being arrested for somebody else.
Oh yes, yeah, I've got that one pulled up right here. We have a wrongful arrest. Man considers lawsuit after marshals storm home. What's that? Hillsborough? Is that how you say that?
Hillsborough? Yeah. That's Hillsborough.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it says U.S. Marshals stormed a home and arrested a man believing he had drugs and guns Thursday morning in Hillsborough. The only problem was that the marshals had the wrong man and even the wrong house. We have Nicholas Brown was making breakfast for his 3 children and getting ready for work when a dozen armed marshals barged into his home and arrested him for offenses he said he never committed. It turns out that the marshals had the wrong man the entire time. So basically we had a case of mistaken identity completely. A guy with the same exact name, but different person altogether.
Yeah, it's not like Nicholas Brown is a very unique name. I'm guessing there's a couple thousand of them in the United States.
Oh,
and probably at least, a couple hundred in the state of Ohio alone.
Obviously more than one in just the town of Hillsborough. Obviously.
I don't even know if they were actually even in the right county, no less, because the warrant came out of Franklin County, which is where I am in Columbus. And
oh yeah, that's what it says. Yeah.
Hillsborough is down near Cincinnati. It's at least an hour away from Franklin County, so wow. They might not even been in the same county if the warrant was issued out of Franklin. But I think the funniest thing is that so the paperwork had his name, his birthday, and a social security number.
Yeah. on the list is
and it identified him as a black male, but this guy was white.
Yeah, obviously, this gentleman is a white male. You guys pull up this article, you can see right in the front. It's a picture of a white male. Yeah.
So
know how you mistake that.
I mean, the guy was making breakfast for his 3 children when does it say 12 people? I think it says 12 people with M9 automatic weapons.
Yep. He says, 12 people with M9 automatic weapons. He had his 3 kids. He was making breakfast for the 3 kids, and they stormed in.
Yeah, so this is, man, it's just crazy that...
What that teaches the kids, though. It's horrible.
I know, that is probably... That's terrorizing beyond belief if you're just making breakfast, and if you're a little child and a bunch of armed men come into your house and take your father away, even though he did nothing wrong in the first place, and it's even the wrong person, that's
But even
there's too many speechless moments.
Then you have to figure the fact that, of course, again, these officers won't be held accountable for it. This gentleman will sue the city or the county or whatever. The taxpayers will foot the bill, and no one will be held accountable. And the children will see this, that the police get away with this type of thing all the time. They get to keep doing it over and over again, and they get away with it.
Right.
And nothing ever happens to the individuals making the mistake.
And this is one of those where it's not even, this particular instance is not a blatant screw up. This isn't.
No one was like injured. But I mean, this teaches the children that, okay, well, the cops can come busted into my house at any time, and nothing will happen whether or not it was right or wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
So either way, it's a huge mess up to be so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had the same name, and you had all of his information, but you had the wrong person. So obviously your information was wrong to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
You got the guy on the paper, but he was the wrong guy to begin with. So it doesn't really matter.
That makes you even wonder if the original guy was the right guy anyway. Even the guy they were actually going after, not the gentleman they ended up getting, that was incorrect anyway. Whether or not, has he even actually committed these crimes that they're saying, or is their information that far incorrect?
No, yeah. So the crimes that they have listed are not his. They're for the other guy who they messed up. So,
who's to say?
So there's. So now the other Nicholas Brown knows that the marshals are looking for him, if he didn't know already. So
now he knows. But even then, can you even justify the fact of, did he even do anything wrong, or are they just getting their information from some random source that's completely incorrect?
Yeah, I think it's drugs and guns. Apparently he's a fugitive, so I'm assuming that he had already been arrested and already... He's probably on the... He already knows he's on the run for something, so... Especially if the marshals are going after him. They probably don't go after the little...
Marshals usually tend to be a little bit better than regular police officers.
You would hope.
Most of the time, I haven't had run-ins with them as in we get in trouble, but I've spoken with some actually here that were looking for a gentleman in my neighborhood, and I had a long conversation with one. Awesome marshal, great guy. Totally said I could film them when they went to do their bust, and I ended up having to leave to go get my kids, so I didn't end up getting to be here to film it. But he was totally fine with me filming and asking questions and talking to him about it the whole time, which is a lot more than what I get out of most of the city cops around here.
Yeah, and as far as particular branches of law enforcement, the marshals aren't going after peaceful people. They're not going after the low-level drug users or anything. They're going after the worst of the worst. They're going after the guys who have actually hurt people. Mm-hmm. So I don't really have a whole lot of issue with what they're doing, because they're actually trying to pursue legitimately dangerous people. So this is just...
But even then, half the time they end up using less lethal force than the regular cops going after innocent people. Yeah,
you go figure. Why? These guys are
going after dangerous people, and they go after them with more respect and more restraint than regular officers do after peaceful criminals.
Right. So maybe the marshals should be training all the other police officers, and maybe we can get some quality people. That's where the people with the high IQs go, because they can't make it into the police department because they get rejected for being too smart. So they go to the marshals. Yeah.
There you go. Now we know where all the good guys are going.
All right. All right, so I think we're going to wrap this up, and then we'll start our interviews with Jacob and your guy from Seattle about the May Day protests.
Yeah, give us probably 10 or so minutes. Make sure we got everything lined up and ready to go. We'll start up another one.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll try to get Jacob on. He's on a tablet, so we'll see.
All right, so basically, we'll have it'll be 10:30 Eastern Standard Time or 7:30 Pacific Standard Time over here.
Yeah, so we'll probably
live streaming by then, if not before then.
Yeah, we'll probably have Jacob on in the next, if we can get Jacob on in the next few minutes, and then we have your guys scheduled at 10:30. So, so yeah, that's it that we have today. Actually, we had a lot more, but we had to cut it down. So. We'll see how next week goes. If this week is any indication of what next week's going to be like, then we're just going to be packed anyways. We're also hoping to get on a better format than using Google Hangout for our recordings. I got to make some phone calls tomorrow or the day after. Yeah, maybe we can get onto some internet radio network that can provide us a little better support. Yep. So we'll see, and then we can actually get our third host on who hasn't managed to get on because he doesn't own a computer and he has an iPhone, and Google products don't like Apple products. So
no, not really.
So yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, well, if you want to stay up to date on what's going on, you can follow the CopBlock Radio Show Facebook page. We post what's going on there, and we let everybody know that we were going live tonight at the appropriate time of 9:30 or 9. Geez, I didn't even give the right time on the show. 9 o'clock Eastern Time on Tuesdays. We will try to be here 9 o'clock Tuesdays.
Yep, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time over here.
Yep.
So, again, if you guys want to send us anything or want to get involved or get on the show and tell us a story or anything like that, just CopBlockRadioShow at Gmail or the Facebook page, or you can contact me and Eric on our Facebook, or our Spokane CopBlock for mine, and Ohio CopBlock or Free Rock Press.
Yep.
For Eric.
Yeah, so we've been in talks with some other satellite groups, so we'll hopefully get some other people on in the future. And yeah, if you are if you are part of one of those other groups, such as one of the city cop blocks or Peaceful Streets Project or Cop Watch or any of those other police accountability organizations, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to have other people on, so it's not just the two of us yammering for an hour.
Yeah, I'd like to get them on and figure out what's going on in their neck of the woods and hear how things are going. I'd love to.
Definitely. So hopefully the interviews that we do after this work out well, and we can do more of them, and we can have those to bring to people as well. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. My name's Eric. You can find me at freerockpress.com, and you can find that also on Facebook. And OhioCopBlock.org is the organization that I'm from. And I had Adam with me, and he's from Spokane CopBlock, and you can find them over on Facebook. So that pretty much wraps it up. And remember, badges don't grant extra rights.